Have you ever felt that your life seems more like a script than an authentic creation? That strange feeling of being the protagonist of a story written by others, while the real you watches from behind the scenes. In the spiritual tradition, this is the first symptom of awakening, when consciousness begins to distinguish between the actor and the inner spectator. All paths of inner growth start from this sacred discomfort, that emptiness after a success, that silent question that arises in silence. These are not mistakes, but messages from the soul. They are the signals that your essence is trying to remind you who you really are, beyond social roles and inherited expectations. If these words resonate with you like a forgotten truth, it is because something is already moving inside you. Press that like not for me, but for you. It is your first conscious yes to this journey. That simple gesture is already an act of recognition, a signal to the universe that you are ready to wake up. Only 1% of people can access this teaching because it does not manifest to those who want it, but to those who are ready. Kybalion holds a forgotten truth. Everything is mind, the universe is mental, and this changes everything. Because if the universe was created by a mind, then your reality is being created by your mind right now. But there is a problem. If you don't dominate your mind, it dominates you. And that's when you get trapped in the matrix without realizing it. If this video found you, it's not by accident. It's because the time has come. The time to get off autopilot. The time to look at what's behind the mind. The time to wake up. But beware, this awakening has no return. For once you see, you can no longer unsee. The mind, when purified from error, becomes the mirror of the divine mind and reflects everything with perfection. It all begins with a sentence that seems simple, but holds the deepest secret of the universe. All is mind. The universe is mental. This is the first Hermetic law, the foundation of all Kybalion teachings. But what does this really mean? That everything that exists, time, space, matter, events, people, encounters, missed connections, is, in essence, a manifestation of mind. And not just any mind, but the mind of all, the creative mind, the primordial consciousness that gave birth to everything that exists. The universe you live in is not a solid, static place. It is a vibrational field, an infinite consciousness in motion, and within that consciousness, you are a creative fragment. Your thoughts are not just thoughts. They are codes, vibrational commands that influence the invisible structure of reality around you. Your mind is not separate from the universe. It is an extension of the universal mind. And that is why everything you vibrate, you attract. But here is the part that almost no one understands. The universe does not respond to what you want, but to what you vibrate. And what you vibrate does not reside in your conscious will, but in your deep beliefs, in the feelings you harbor without realizing it, in the fear you try to hide, in the guilt you have not addressed, in the resentment you still carry. You can repeat positive affirmations all day long. You can say you want prosperity, love, peace. But if deep down you feel you don't deserve it, if you feel lack, if you distrust life, that's what your vibration is sending out. And that's what the universe is sending back to you. Imagine your mind as a radio station. You can only listen to songs on the frequency you're tuned into. There's no point in wanting to hear a high tune if you're stuck on a frequency of fear, anger, or scarcity. And the craziest part is that most people don't even know what station they're tuned into because they've never stopped to look at what they feel, what they believe, what they repeat internally every day. This is where the real power of the law of mentalism comes in. It is not saying that the universe will do what you want, but that the universe is you. That everything you see on the outside is projected from within. That what happens in your outer reality is only a reflection of your inner world. If you keep experiencing the same situations, attracting the same kind of people, the same problems, the same cycles, it is not bad luck. It is vibrational coherence. Your inner frequency is in tune with those patterns. And until you change your vibration, the outside will stay the same, even if you change location, partner, job, or city. Now, take a deep breath and pay attention. You are inside a vibrational matrix, not a prison of metal and concrete, but a prison of frequencies, an invisible network that is modeled on your internal vibration. You may believe you are making free choices, but if your beliefs and feelings are trapped in a limited pattern, what you experience will be a copy of that. How does this matrix form? It comes from repeated thoughts. Every time you think something, you strengthen an energetic pattern in your field. If that thought is repeated many times, it becomes a belief. If that belief is fueled by intense emotions, it becomes a vibrational pattern. And that pattern begins to shape your reality. It's like being inside a hologram that responds to your energy field in real time. But listen, this is not a punishment, it is a revelation. This is the universe showing you that you are not a victim of circumstances. You are the creative center, not in a magical way, but vibrationally. And the big shift happens when you realize that your mind is not just a collection of ideas, it is a manifestation tool. When you start to take care of the quality of your thoughts, when you learn to feel more consciously, when you start to observe and reprogram your beliefs, you start to change your frequency. And the matrix responds. New situations appear. Different people approach. Opportunities that seemed impossible begin to present themselves. But none of this is coincidence. It is consequence. The law of mentalism is relentless, but it is right. It does not respond to what you say, but to what you are. And you are what you think, feel, and believe most strongly. Your mind is the portal. Vibration is the password. Consciousness is the path. Creative consciousness. You are manifesting everything all the time. And this is exactly the point that most people have never been taught to notice. You are already manifesting everything all the time. The reality that surrounds you now, with all its details, your relationships, your job, your finances, your health, even the conflicts that seem inexplicable, is a direct result of your vibration. Not because you consciously wanted it, but because you unconsciously allowed it. You have been a creator since the day you were born, but contrary to what many believe, creation does not depend on stated intention. It happens even when you are on autopilot, and that is where the danger lies. Because while you believe you are simply living, your mind is silently sending commands based on everything you have absorbed without questioning it. Beliefs inherited from your parents, phrases repeated in childhood, emotional patterns from your culture, traumas you don't even remember. All of this works inside you like an invisible program. You may wonder why you always attract people who hurt you, why you repeat the same types of relationships with the same misunderstandings and frustrations, why you always end up disappointed, even when you swear that this time will be different. It's not bad luck, it's a pattern, a cycle created by deep beliefs you carry about love, about value, about trust. And as long as those beliefs remain in the background of your mind, you will continue to create the same kind of reality. The same goes for money. You may want prosperity, but if deep in your emotional field there are still old voices that say money is dirty, that rich people don't go to heaven, that having too much is selfish, then your vibration will be one of rejection. You may gain something, but soon you will lose it, or you will not be able to hold on to it, because your vibrational field is programmed to reject what you rationally say you want. It's as if there are two versions of you operating simultaneously, one conscious, dreaming, planning, and wishing, and another unconscious, repeating, sabotaging, and recreating the past. And guess which one is stronger? It's always the one that vibrates more consistently. And it's usually the unconscious one, because it's been running longer. This is why so many people get stuck in the same cycles, relationships that end the same way over and over again, financial difficulties that drag on for years, health problems that manifest in chronic patterns. All of this points to one thing: a lack of awareness of your creative power. You are creating even when you say you are not. Even when you say you are waiting for things to get better, that act of waiting is already a creation. Because while you are waiting, you are vibrating absence. You are vibrating the lack of what you want, and the universe responds to your vibration, not your words. The big shift happens when you start to observe the effects that your vibration has produced in the world around you. When you stop seeing events as good or bad luck and start to understand them as mirrors of your inner state. It's hard at first because it means taking responsibility, but it's also liberating because it gives you back control. At this point, you may start to notice that there is something inside you that observes everything. Something silent, conscious, that does not change with thoughts, emotions, or circumstances. That something is your consciousness. But then an inevitable question arises. Why, knowing all this, do you continue to suffer, to repeat patterns, to react, to feel small, lost, or confused? The answer lies in the birth of an invisible but incredibly powerful entity, the ego. The ego is not something evil, but it is an illusion. It is formed in early childhood, when you begin to connect everything you experience to the idea of me. It is then that you begin to say, my toy, my mommy, my pain, my name. At that moment, without realizing it, the thought of me solidifies into an identity. Consciousness, which was once pure and unlimited, begins to be filtered through a mental narrative constructed from the past. And that is where the great prison begins. This entity called ego is a collection of memories, stories, conditioning, and beliefs that you have identified with. It tells you who you are, what you can or cannot do, what you deserve or do not deserve. It is made up of everything you have been told, everything you have experienced, and everything you have believed without questioning it. But the scariest part is that you do not realize that you are living inside it. The ego creates a character that feels separate from everything, threatened by the world, in need of validation and control. This personal self lives in a constant state of defense, trying to protect the mental image of itself that deep down is fragile and unstable. And that is why it needs constant reinforcement, external approval, successes, comparisons, guilt, justifications. As long as you identify with this self, you live in a bubble. Everything that happens is interpreted in terms of how it affects your character. Someone criticizes you, the ego suffers. Someone compliments you, the ego swells. You fail, the ego suffers. You win, the ego clings to credit. It's like being trapped in a mirror, always watching yourself, judging yourself, measuring yourself. But that mirror is distorted. It doesn't show who you really are, only who you think you should be. This process obscures the light of the original consciousness, like clouds covering the sun. The consciousness does not disappear, but is buried under layers and layers of identification. And that is why often, even when you are silent, your mind does not stop. It is whirling around that character, preoccupied with his image, his fears, his desires, and his wounds. The ego wants security, but it is never safe. It wants control, but it never really has it. And the more it tries to protect itself, the further it goes from the truth. But here is something crucial you have to understand. The ego is just a thought. It is not something real in itself. It is a process. It depends on your identification to exist. If you don't hold on to it, it has no power. If you watch it, it loses its power. And that is why many masters have taught the importance of looking inside. Because when you look at the ego without identifying with it, something magical happens. You begin to feel that there is a space between you and your thoughts. That space is your true essence. This impersonal self is silent but fully aware. It does not react, it simply senses. It does not try to dominate, it simply is. It doesn't need to defend itself because it is not an idea. It is what you were before your first thought arose. It is what the mind observes, but is not the mind. It is what feels, but is not the feeling. It is presence itself. And that is the beginning of liberation. The invisible beliefs that shape your prison. As we grow, ideas are instilled in us. They do not come from within, they come from without. They are phrases spoken by voices of authority. Parents, teachers, priests, politicians, neighbors, and they creep into us almost without us realizing it. At first they seem like just words, but little by little they become silent rules about how we should live, love, think, feel. These rules are called beliefs, and the scariest part is that most of them are not even chosen by us, they are programmed. A child who grows up hearing that money is dirty, that spirituality is a sin, that showing feelings is weakness, begins to build his reality on those ideas without questioning them because he has no filters yet. And like a seed planted in fertile soil, those beliefs take root in the subconscious, and over time become absolute truths, even if they are lies. And here's the part that almost no one realizes. These beliefs were not born with you. They were passed down as an energetic legacy. The pain you carry may not even be yours. The scarcity you experience may have started 4 generations before you were born, yet it pulses in your vibrational field as a personal burden. Let me share with you a short story that clearly illustrates what we are talking about. Listen carefully, because many people do not realize how these beliefs can keep us trapped in the matrix. Once upon a time, in a village hidden in the mountains, there was a little girl named Elra. Ever since she was a little girl, Elra heard her grandmother repeat the same phrase whenever dreams were mentioned. Careful, little girl. Dreaming too big makes the fall even harder. Elra didn't understand it, but that sentence frightened her. Every time she wanted something big, an inner voice held her back. Better not, she thought. It's dangerous to want too much. Time passed, and Elra grew up. She became a talented woman but full of insecurities. She could sing like the spring winds, but she never dared to do so in public. She could heal with herbs, but she kept her gifts hidden. One day, while walking in the woods, she met an old woman who was not from the village. The woman with deep eyes and a calm voice asked her, "Why do you live so small?" Elra replied, "Because in my family, those who dream too much are punished." The old woman smiled. She asked Elra to dig a small hole in the ground, and there, buried, Elra found a rusty medallion with the inscription, "He dreamed and died." It belonged to her great-grandmother. The old woman looked at Elra and said, "What your great-grandmother lived was the pain of a cruel time. But you live in a different time. You can sing, you can dream. You are not the past." That night Elra sang to the moon, and her voice broke a cycle that had lasted for generations. This tale is simple but powerful, because it shows us that many of our limitations are sustained out of loyalty to stories that are not even our own, loyalty to the pain of our ancestors. Scarcity, for example, is rarely just about money. It starts with a lack of affection, a lack of permission to receive, a belief that one is not worthy, and if no one breaks that chain, it continues, invisible but present, vibrating in familiar fields for centuries. But even when someone begins to awaken and realizes that they can break old patterns, a sneaky, heavy, paralyzing feeling often emerges: guilt. Guilt comes in many forms. It can be a thought whispered in your mind, "I should have done it differently." It can be a knot in your chest every time you think about a bad decision, or even a vague feeling of failure even when you are doing your best. Guilt is perhaps one of the most common traps because it masquerades as a virtue. It looks like remorse, ethics, awareness, but in reality it is paralysis. According to the Hawkins scale of consciousness, which measures the energetic vibration of emotional states, guilt is among the lowest frequencies in human existence. It vibrates at the same level as shame, and that is no coincidence, because when you vibrate guilt, you disconnect from your creative power. You do not feel worthy of change. You do not believe you can rebuild. You see yourself as someone who has made a mistake and now must pay. This creates a subtle cycle of self-punishment, self-sabotage, unconscious attraction to situations that reinforce that pain. But here's the most important point. Guilt has no spiritual utility. It doesn't teach. It doesn't heal. It doesn't transform. It just repeats itself. Guilt has no future. It keeps you trapped in the past. And that's why many people continue to go round in circles even after they awaken, because they carry a vibrational burden that prevents them from moving forward. The way out is a powerful internal change, an energetic shift that may seem subtle but changes everything, replacing guilt with responsibility. Responsibility is not the same as guilt. Guilt says, "The pain I caused defines me." Responsibility says, "I own what I did and choose to act differently from now on." Do you see the difference? Guilt paralyzes you. Responsibility liberates you. When you take responsibility for yourself, you stop looking at the past as a burden to be carried. You start looking at it as a lesson that got you here, and this present moment becomes the starting point. This is where one of the most powerful spiritual tools comes in: forgiveness. But the forgiveness we speak of is not just an act directed at others. True forgiveness begins when you look at yourself with compassion, when you understand that, at that moment in your life, you acted with the level of awareness that you had, that you were trying to survive, that you were reacting from a wounded place perhaps without even knowing it, and when you forgive yourself, a vibrational miracle happens. Your frequency rises. You come out of the energetic mud of self-punishment and begin to touch states of peace, acceptance, love. It is not that your mistakes disappear, they transform into wisdom. How the mind created the matrix and how to get out of it. The unconscious mind, when left unnoticed, begins to eat away at the physical body like silent rust. It does not need permission to act, it simply reacts. Fear, for example, does not manifest itself as just a vague thought. According to traditional Chinese medicine, it nests in the kidneys. Every time you feel insecure, every time you repress that feeling, a subtle signal passes through your nervous system, your auric field, and accumulates there like a dense cloud that blocks your vital energy. The same happens with sadness, which settles in the lungs, affecting breathing, rhythm, vitality. Anger is concentrated in the liver, anxiety in the heart. Everything that is not digested emotionally ends up being stored at a vibrational level. This is not mysticism, it is subtle awareness. Your body is a field of frequencies that records everything you have not had the courage to feel fully. A repressed argument, a trauma tried to forget, a loss never processed. Everything remains there, vibrating, shaping your behaviors, your pain, your beliefs. The body screams what the soul is silent. The mind creates, the body feels, the consciousness observes. And if you do not access consciousness, you become hostages of an overactive mind and a sick body. And this is where mental deprogramming becomes an act of true healing. When you change your beliefs, you change your thoughts. When you change your thoughts, you change your frequency. When you change your frequency, you change the fate that kept repeating itself. But why did the mind create a prison? Because it wanted to protect you. It is an incredible tool, but it was put in charge. And a tool in charge becomes a tyrant. The mind, when it operates alone, begins to create realities just to justify its own existence. Look at the world. Interpret facts. Judge what is right or wrong, good or bad. And from this comes the concept of thought form. Every thought you have, if repeated enough, becomes an energetic form, almost a vibrational entity. It takes shape. It begins to influence your choices, your emotions, your view of reality. A thought like, "I'll never be enough," for example, doesn't just stay in your head. It shapes your relationships, your opportunities, your reactions. You see the world through a distorted lens, and all of this is supported by desires that aren't even yours. You've been taught to want success, stability, approval, security. But no one has asked you what your soul really wants. And so, you start spinning on the wheel of samsara, a cycle of repeated mental rebirths. You repeat patterns, experience the same pain, face the same situations with different faces. The mental matrix is this invisible system of inherited ideas, projected desires, and automated judgments. And what keeps this matrix alive is your lack of presence. It is at this point that something begins to change. A silent, almost imperceptible space appears between thoughts. It is not just any silence, It is a living, pulsating void that is not absence but presence. For the first time, you realize that you can observe your mind without being carried away by it. Meditation begins right there, not as a complicated technique, but as an act of listening to what has always been there but has been drowned out by the constant internal chatter. This inner silence is not the end of the mind, but the beginning of its dissolution. Thoughts still come, but you don't feed them, you just observe them. And the more you observe, the weaker they become. The mind, accustomed to control, becomes agitated. It screams, it kicks, it tries to drag you back into the noise. But you have already touched something different. You have already tasted the freedom that lives in the now. And it is in that space that the glimmer of enlightenment begins. To be enlightened does not mean to understand more. It means to carry less. Less past, less expectations, less self. Because the more memory you carry, the more the present becomes obscured. The light of consciousness shines when the clouds of the mind thin out. And the incredible thing is that this light does not come from outside. It arises from within. It has always been there, but it was hidden beneath layers of thought, identity, and desire. And then comes the inevitable question, what now? What do you do after you have seen? We have finally arrived at the choice that cannot be postponed. You can continue to feed the mind, believing that something is still missing. You can accumulate experiences, lessons, successes, always with that feeling that something is about to come. Or you can stop, breathe, and realize that nothing, absolutely nothing, needs to be achieved, that everything you have ever sought was already within you. The mind will try to convince you otherwise. It will say it is too soon, that you need more practice, more reading, more rehearsal. It will use your insecurities to bring you back to the old self. But consciousness, that silent presence that sees all, needs no convincing. It simply is. An irreversible awakening happens when you choose that presence, not as an idea, but as a state of being. Spiritual awakening begins when you understand a simple but radical truth. You are not your thoughts, you are the consciousness that observes them. This change of perspective is the key to all inner liberation, as all mystical traditions teach. If this message touched you, leave a like as a seal of your commitment to yourself. Write present in the comments if you recognize the call. These are not just words, but energetic waves that connect those who are ready for this journey. And subscribe to the channel to continue this journey together. Remember, every awakening is a process, and every step counts. See you soon, traveling companion, on the road that leads home.